My name is Roadsworth. I'm from Montreal. I have been painting roads, streets, walls, all kinds of spaces since 2001. And I'm an artist, a musician, a father of three. Yeah, I started painting in Montreal on the street in around, year 2001 actually. And even when I started painting on the streets, I didn't really consider it art necessarily. It was more, I saw it more as a form of activism actually at the time. And I really started actually, the first time I painted a street, I was painting bicycle symbols around Montreal. Because at the time there was a sort of lack of, I would say, respect for the cyclist, and that was, in the form of a lack of bicycle path infrastructure, and so that was sort of my cause when I first started. But I was also very influenced by the artist Andy Goldsworthy, who is, an artist that I discovered, and I really wanted to sort of do something in that vein. I really wanted to create something in the spirit of Andy Goldsworthy, and who's a land artist and who works mostly in nature and with natural elements. And I wanted to translate that sort of spirit into the city, into an urban setting. When 9/11 happened, it sort of put my street art practice, if you will, into overdrive. It kind of like pushed me to want to, be more expressive, I guess, because I really felt at that time there was a real sort of shutdown on all levels. There was this sort of, especially in North America, there was this sudden, it was like a vacuum all of a sudden after 9/11 happened. There was this real atmosphere of fear, I think, and I would argue that I think a lot of street art came out of that sort of atmosphere. And I think street art is somewhat of a reflection. It comes from a generation that was exposed to advertising, for one thing. Like, we were definitely heavily influenced by advertising, this publicity and propaganda, really. So, in my opinion, street art is a sort of a reaction to propaganda, in a sense. It's like an alternative form of media, and you see that, the humor and the cynicism, I think, that exists. I mean, Banksy is a prime example. And I think it's a reaction to propaganda, and the propaganda was especially heavy around 9/11 and thick, and sort of since that time. Yeah, so I was doing this for several years, and then I got arrested in 2004, and there was quite a significant, I didn't realize, but they had been building a file on me for some time. And there was sort of, in Montreal and in many cities, there was an anti-graffiti squad. So they were, there's a squad of, I guess, who are dedicated to busting graffiti artists. So that was another thing, that was another reason for wanting to, I really was sort of wanted to pushing the boundaries of free expression. We call ourselves lovers of freedom of expression in the West, but when you really put it to the test, you realize that we're not. I mean, the laws are actually there to quash expression, in a sense. At the end of it, I got lucky. And I think a lot of that had to do with the support that I was getting from the community. I got a sort of out-of-court settlement where I got basically a slap on the wrist, some fairly minor fines, and I had to do some community service, which consisted of doing art or doing a ground mural And so I guess from that point on, I've been, you know, working as an artist. I would do it, I would be a lot more careful. I think I would have liked to have a longer career, so to speak, as a street artist. I remember the thing I regretted most when I was arrested was, at the time I was a little bit like an addict. I wasn't concerned about the consequences so much. I was just upset that I wasn't going to be able to continue. I had all these, you know, ideas and things, you know, projects I wanted to accomplish, and this was putting an end to all that. So that was my biggest regret. Part of the thrill for me of doing it was the anonymous factor, and doing something and not having it attached to a person or a, you know, personality or whatever, and that was a big part of it. So it sort of lost the sort of power for me and the impact when I got outed and when it became known who I was. So